Welcome back to AM Northwest. Have you tried every diet in the book but keep gaining the weight back? Here to share the secret to shedding fat effortlessly without being hungry or cutting carbs, we welcome the author of the Low Glycal Diet, Dr. Jeffrey Dunham. Doctor, good to see you.
It's great to be here, Helen. Thank you.
Explain what the diet is.
Well, the Low Glycal Diet is all about how you combine foods and when you eat them.
Okay.
A glycal is a term that I've coined to be a calorie stored as fat. And if you understand how fat is stored, there are ways that you can kind of game the system so that you store minimal amounts of fat without excluding a lot of the foods that you like.
And when you have fat in a diet, that's what keeps the hunger down, right?
It does. And one of the key parts of this diet is that fat will not make you fat unless you have it with carbohydrates.
Oh.
And the reason for that is that insulin is what causes you to store fat, and the only time that you generate insulin after you eat a meal is when you eat carbohydrates.
Oh.
So if you're just eating protein or fat alone, you can eat all you want and you're not going to store any fat. But as soon as you add the carbohydrates, then the insulin surge that you get from the carbohydrates is going to put the calories from the fat into fat cells and store it.
Okay.
So fat is not bad unless you have it with carbohydrates.
All right, so let's explain your diet plan, and let's start with breakfast. I see avocados and eggs, and I'm ready to go.
Okay, this is a great breakfast.
Okay.
You know, avocado is all the rage. You see that
I love
on
avocados.
Instagram. This is avocado with poached eggs. Now, this is a lot of calories here. You have a lot of calories in the eggs and the avocado, but you don't have any carbohydrates. So you could have this. You could even have 2 servings of this. And
is this considered 1 serving or 2 servings?
Well,
here?
this would be 1 serving.
Okay.
But the fact that, you know, there are very few carbohydrates in avocado or eggs means that you could really eat all you wanted of this and you wouldn't store any fat. But if you had this toast, if you add the toast here to the avocado and poached eggs, then the insulin surge that you get from the toast now is going to not only store the carbohydrates in the toast into fat cells, but also the fat from the avocado and the poached eggs.
So you're saying just have the poached eggs and avocado?
Or you can substitute something else. So now that we know that this has ruined the meal, basically,
we can take that out of the equation.
You can put it right over there because you can have it later, and I'll explain that. If we bring in the broiled tomatoes, now the tomatoes have carbohydrates, but they're what's called a good carbohydrate.
Oh.
You know, bread would be a bad carbohydrate.
Sure.
Fruits and vegetables are good carbohydrates. The difference is that the bad carbohydrates raise your blood sugar quickly and give you a big insulin surge, and the good carbohydrates raise your blood sugar only slightly, so they only give you a smaller amount of insulin. So if you were to add the tomatoes to the avocado and the poached eggs, that would be an acceptable meal. It has a lot of calories, but if you calculate it out, you're only going to store about 9 calories as fat.
Wow.
There's an app that I've developed that's a free app that's available on Google Play or the Apple App Store.
Okay.
And if you want the numbers, you can calculate it. You can calculate the amount of fat stored for any combination of 1,000 different foods.
Okay. So you say we can, though, have, for instance, you have a bagel with cream cheese, it looks like, for a snack.
And if you really want to have the toast, you can have the toast as long as you wait 2 hours. And the reason for the 2-hour rule is that when you eat a meal and you get an insulin surge, after about 2 hours, the insulin goes back down to baseline.
You start feeling hungry again.
Because it's insulin that's causing you to store the fat, you're starting over again every 2 hours. So on this diet, you can eat every 2 hours, so you never have to be hungry. So if you really wanted to have your toast and coffee, you would wait 2 hours after the avocado and the poached egg and the broiled tomatoes, and then you'd have to wait another 2 hours before you eat lunch.
And lunch you have, what is this? Looks like a salad here.
This is a Cobb salad. This is great.
Salad.
I have this maybe 1 or 2 times a week. It's very rich. Avocado, egg, turkey, tomato, chicken, blue cheese. A lot of calories here. There are probably about 700 calories here, but you're not going to store hardly any of those as fat. The reason for that is that you don't have any bad carbs. You have the lettuce, you have the avocado, not anything that's going to give you a big insulin surge. So this is totally acceptable as a
And what
lunch.
do you like for the dressing?
Well, anything that doesn't have sugar in it is acceptable. So anything with olive oil, put all the olive oil you want on it. You can put blue cheese, even a low-carb ranch dressing would be fine.
Oh, let's get to dinner. I don't want to run out. Oh, there was a snack here, cheese and fruit, it looks like.
Yeah, you can have, a lot of people come home and they, want to have a little snack,
Right.
and maybe they'll have some wine and cheese. Actually, wine is acceptable because
Oh, I like this stuff. Okay.
there's no sugar in wine. It raises your blood alcohol, but it doesn't raise your sugar, so you don't get an insulin surge. Cheese doesn't have any carbohydrates. It's all protein and fat, so wine and cheese would be acceptable. However, if you put the cheese on the crackers, then you're in trouble.
So
because
stick
then you
with
get a big
cheese,
insulin surge.
Seasoned fruit?
Yeah, so then you would
Okay.
have the substitute the fruit for the cracker, and that would be an acceptable.
And dinner, so you have salmon and beans.
Yeah, the salmon again, fish, meat, no carbs. It's all fat and protein. The green bean salad that we have here, there's a recipe in the book. Very few carbohydrates in that. So again, you know, if you're eating that, you could eat that and not store any fat. You could have a glass of wine with that. The problem is, if you look at that, that probably has about 700 calories in it altogether. If you were to have a cup of white rice with that, then you probably end up storing about 200 or 300 calories.
So just avoid the
without
carbs.
rice, avoid the carbs. Yeah.
Okay, the book again is titled The Low Glycal Diet. Dr. Jeffrey Dunham. Good to see you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Helen.
All right.